Welcome to Curious Goldfish, a podcast community where music and curiosity come together through interesting conversations with the music makers of our world. I'm your host, Jason English. You can find Curious Goldfish in all the major podcast and social media platforms, and of course, we have all of our content on our website, curiousgoldfish.com. Hey, Griffin, so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I really appreciate your time. I know you're busy.
No, I'm actually not today. I'm not doing much.
Okay.
Got a show later tonight, and had to do some laundry today. So,
The important things.
figure out lunch. This is beautiful.
Yeah, you like this spot?
Oh my gosh, a little high-tech operation you got here too. These cameras.
Yeah, no, we try to step it up here on the podcast.
Geez, incredible.
Well, yeah, we're here down in Santa Rosa Beach at the 30A Songwriters Festival. You've been here and performed before, right?
I have.
Yeah.
Many times.
Okay. What brings you back when you have the opportunity to come back?
This place is kind of special to me because I started coming here as a kid for like spring breaks and stuff when I was probably 11 or 12.
Okay.
My mom's oldest sister, Babby, used to travel around. She found out about this place called Seaside, and this was before there was watercolor or anything else. So I've been on these beaches since I've been a kid, and then we would come here, every now and then. And then I started a career in music later, and then the Songwriters Fest happened, and now I come here in the winter time sometimes too. So, and I've done the festival maybe like 10 times or something.
Oh,
so I love coming back, and used to bring my family down a lot when we were in Nashville, but we're up in Connecticut now. So
Okay.
I come back like maybe every other year or something now.
When you come to this, do you have any specific goals, that
No,
or is it just
I'm
chill?
I've moved on to the second half of life where I am no longer striving for anything, and I just try to relax and enjoy the moment.
Okay, good. I guess that's a good. I wish I could have that approach at my stage of my career, but maybe I'll get there. No, it's awesome.
Well, that's not because I still failed to reach all the lofty goals that I had for myself, but I just realized that at some point maybe that's not the point.
Oh, yeah.
So there are other things to learn and new paths to walk down. So
All right.
I'm trying to embrace
Yeah.
everything
All right.
and anything that comes my way.
Fair enough. So I have so many questions. I want to start a little bit with, where you live in Connecticut now, but you're from Ohio. So I'll first start. You're the pride of Springfield, Ohio.
I'm second fiddle always forever to John Legend.
Yeah,
about
John
my friend,
Stephen, right?
John Stevens. My friends always tell. I got one friend that always needles me like, "How's it feel to be the second most famous person from Springfield, Ohio?" I'm like, "That's pretty. Second's not bad."
So you went to North. Did he go to South?
No, he went to North. Too.
Oh, he went to North too. Okay.
He used to sing the national anthem at the basketball games, and
Okay.
he was in Fiddler on the Roof, and I saw him sing a great part in that play. There was another guy, Alex Beekman, who was fantastic, and he was they inspired me to try out for theater, even though it was nothing that anybody in my family had ever done. So I got in a one-act play, and then eventually a musical. I found out I could carry a little bit of a tune.
Yeah.
One thing led to another.
Yeah.
I picked up guitar in college, and it just kind of kept snowballing. So
Okay.
yeah,
What's the mascot of North?
Panthers.
Oh, the Panthers. Okay. Go
But now they're
Panthers.
the Wildcats because South used to be Wildcats, and now I think they merged into one school.
Oh,
so
jeez.
now it's Springfield High School,
Yeah.
and they don't have North anymore. It's
Oh,
gone.
okay.
The
All
building's gone.
Oh man, that's sad. All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's Dave Chappelle is from that same area.
He lives in Yellow Springs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then is it Charles Manson? Generally from that part of Ohio, or
I don't think so.
Okay.
Is he from Ohio?
I think so.
What?
Yeah. that's
I've
what-
never heard that.
Yeah?
We might need to fact check that one. I don't know about that.
I mean, I try to do a little bit of research
Really?
ahead of time. But,
I've never
I could
heard
be
that
wrong.
before.
I could be wrong. Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Well, maybe my source is wrong, but it's fine.
Okay.
All right.
Well, let's get back to Dave Chappelle because he's a better topic
Yeah.
than the other guy you mentioned.
Yeah,
I don't even
yeah.
want to think about. But Dave Chappelle, you'll often see him at a coffee shop there. He hangs out at this place called Dino's, and I saw him there one day. I'm like, I finally saw Dave Chappelle. And he walked outside, and there's a guy cleaning the window. And he looks up, he's smoking a cigarette, he looks up at the guy, he goes, "When you're climbing up the ladder and you hear something splatter." And I'm like, yes, it's like, fine, you got to have one moment where Dave Chappelle says something, and he did. That's my memory of Dave.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's there all the time, I think. So
All right.
it's cool to have him in Yellow Springs.
Well, and as your music progressed, I read somewhere too that you did a fair amount of busking in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I guess I need to ask you: is it Gold Star or is it Skyline for you?
Oh man, Skyline. Yeah, Skyline. That stuff is. Yeah, you have to be from Cincinnati to really understand
The dynamics, right?
Yeah, it'll kind of mess you up, but we ate it all the time.
Yeah.
I'd go back on a rare occasion.
Yeah.
And I don't think my kids would eat it, but they wouldn't understand. Like, why are you bringing me here, Dad?
Oh, that's good.
Probably a good thing.
Do you miss the days of busking, or do you still feel like you kind of do it just in a different way?
I still feel like I busk. I feel like I show up, and it's kind of the same idea every night, where you're trying to get and hold people's attention. And it was cool to start that way. But, yeah, I feel like I'll kind of make a joke of like, yeah, I started out doing that, and it's pretty much how I've been paying the rent ever since. I was lucky to pay the rent that summer doing that, and
Right.
I just feel like I kind of kept on going. But those were pivotal moments to realize, like, hey, I could actually, I can make more money doing this than I can waiting tables right now, so we might as well keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So, people may know, people may not know about the movie, the documentary called Rising Star, which is all about your aspirations and early life as a musician and sort of what that means in terms of a journey to whatever it was, stardom or big stadium crowds and things like that. I guess it's probably been about 10 years since that came out, and I think I watched it on Prime, so I think it's still available. But do you have a different perspective? I don't know, you probably don't watch it, but like if you were to watch that today and kind of relive that, do you have a different perspective than you did when you made that movie?
Yeah, I have a much different perspective. I think doing that movie was like going through years of therapy and like one little tour, because it helped me see myself and kind of my own, these ideas that were deeply entrenched in my psyche that I kind of needed to look at and play with and untangle a little bit. So, but I think the movie, the producer's idea, I think, was kind of to tell it from the vantage point of like a musician's struggles and how it's hard to do this life. But if I made the movie today, I think I would the part two would almost be from the standpoint of like, look at all the things that went well that didn't have to go well, and maybe highlight some of the more fun moments where you could say success or luck or whatever, that because there's certainly so many of those. So I think I look at it as it was a positive thing to go through and help me let go of some old paradigms in my mind. Yeah.
I mean, watching it was really interesting because I started this podcast like a year ago. A lot of the artists I talk to, are at whatever stage, they're all incredible artists and very talented, but they may have 50 listeners on Spotify or 500 or 5,000, whatever it is. And the image of you getting out of the van with the guitar case, the merch box, all the things, and you're slugging around, I'm like, that's the image of a lot of the people I've talked to. It's just the grind and everything. And I think I thought the unfortunate part about the movie was like it. I could sense your angst of like and almost expecting something that hadn't happened yet, and you were really wrestling with that,
Yeah.
And I agree with what you just said, because one of the quotes was like you're in this room. When you showed up, it was like the green room, and you're like, it feels like the bottom's falling out.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, and I can't put myself in your shoes, but someone that's in the business world, I mean, I would give anything to just be able, I don't sing, I don't play guitar, to go and do that, and it was just really not difficult to watch, but I was like, man, I know I could tell you're really struggling with that concept.
Yeah, it can feel like, and I think most of my singer-songwriter friends, traveling musicians, can relate to this. It's like you go to the town. I think the prior time where I had played that room, I hadn't played there in a long time, and we had a big crowd. It was like 200 people, and then we came back to shoot the freaking movie, and there were like 40 people there. And sometimes that just happens because of the night a week or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you're in the moment, you feel like, is the ship sinking forever? And every single artist thinks that like if they have one bad night, and I won't say every single artist, but my friends, the people that I talk to, we all struggle with that feeling. We all want we worry that we're going to walk out there and there's going to be 5 people, because we've all, at some point, if you've paid your dues, you've had those nights, and they create this PTSD thing in your mind where you're like, you just want to have a good crowd. You want to have a good enough crowd. You want things to, people to show up. And so, I think the movie helped me. I'm glad it started that way, and it helped me move through some of my own neurosis through watching it, and ended with the family, which really at the end is great. Like, that's the most important thing to me anyway. So
how old are those daughters now, by the
11 and 13, and Emma is singing and playing piano like crazy. She sang with me for the first time on stage this summer, and she got one line into the song. We sang a Bob Dylan cover, and she got a standing ovation from the crowd, and I leaned down and said, "That's never happened to me once in my life." So yeah, you'll probably get used to it though, but I'll be carrying her instruments for her very soon, probably.
So since that movie, I think it's roughly 10 years, you said your perspective's changed, but what are some of those highlights in the last 10 years? Because in the movie, again, you're like, I've been a rising star for 15 and a half years.
Yeah, I hate that title. I hate that title.
So it's been
I hate it because the song was written as like a mock country song with my friend Tyler, where we were just trying to write like a cliche thing, and then we really didn't have a very good title, and it was almost like there was a little bit of this idea, but I mean, it's not.
Were you just uncomfortable with it because it's like that's not really you?
It doesn't really feel. First of all, like I guess making the movie, it's like an old idea that I've like long since forgot of. Like I'm not really concerned with rising or being a star, either one. So I don't know. And I guess it's just it's open to interpretation, but for me it has some baggage to it where it's like I wish we would have called it anything.
Yeah.
But
so where do you think you are as an artist today, and where do you want to be?
I'm just kind of, I take one day as it comes. I don't really put a ton of pressure on myself to write like I used to. I used to feel like I could make 3 albums a year, and now I'm happy if I write 3 songs a year. And the more fun I have with it, the less pressure I make it, the better it is. I have a lot of more things to balance my life out with my kids and stuff I do at home. And so, yeah, I've been working on a song lately that I really like, and it's kind of about what we're talking about. It's kind of like letting go of this old pathway that you thought you were supposed to have in the first part of your life, where you emulate all these archetypes or heroes that you're supposed to follow and watch the way they did it and then think you're supposed to have a similar journey. It's almost like letting go of that story and creating your own way, which is kind of scary because you don't know where you're going or what's going to happen. But I think if I can embrace that, it's more exciting and more peaceful too.
Yeah. Are you in your early 40s by now?
I'm 44.
So 44. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah. I was just talking to the person I just talked to. He's about to turn 50, and I told him that I turned 50 last year, and it was like the best year of my life.
Yeah.
And I have some regret that I didn't start doing a lot of these things and feeling these things 20 years ago, but that's life.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. I feel like I'm 30 years old.
Why was it the best year?
Well, the podcast started last year. So I have a corporate job full time.
Okay. Which is what?
I implement, well, I don't personally, but I lead a team. We implement software for companies.
Okay.
Right around the world. And I got into that. I was a journalist out of college at the University of Missouri. So I have a journalism degree there, and that's a really good journalism school.
Oh, my buddy went to school there.
Yeah. It's known for its journalism. And I started down that path, but we started having kids, and I was making, $15,000 a year, and I was like, this is not sustainable.
Yeah.
So I got into technology, and it's worked out. But so I have that, and I was inspired. So this podcast is inspired by Ted Lasso.
Okay.
And the curiosity and forgetting about your mistakes and being a goldfish and all those things.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and so that's where the name comes from. And I had the name, and I was like, you know what? I need to bring back my journalism. And I started getting involved in some Atlanta stuff with music, and I'm like, these people have the most amazing stories. I'm curious about that. I can't play, I can't sing, so I'm going to start to meet people. So the podcast is a big part of my happiness. I'm dating an incredible woman. My girlfriend is incredible. She's from the Springfield, Ohio area, by the way.
That's incredible.
So yeah, and so she's awesome. I got a puppy. I wrote a children's book.
Wow.
I mean, it's like all this. It's like this flurry of creativity. So I say that because if you're only 44, I mean, literally your whole life is still ahead of you, you know? So that, for what it's worth, like sage advice from the older guy here, but yeah.
I like that. You're saying all these little key words that have been coming up in my mind, like my wife was using that sage word yesterday, and I love the inspiration from Ted Lasso. And
yeah.
Where is your girlfriend from?
Enon?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Enon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Her last name's Beekman. I don't know. Is it you said Alex?
Alex. Yeah, I know. When I said that, I was like, wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if
that would be so funny.
I'm not sure if he's a musical.
He was a singer in theater, and
right.
I think he moved to New York for a while. I have no idea what he's up to
Yeah.
now, but he was great. He was great back then.
I might have to edit this out because it might not be her brother. I don't know.
Oh,
But yeah, her last name's Beekman. But
Okay.
yeah, she's great. She's, yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, cool. Well, you had an EP come out last year, and I think before we started taping, you said you're writing a lot. I guess what's inspiring you today to write?
Same thing that always does, just life, what I'm going through in my head and my mind. I think as I look back, my songs have always been, for the most part, kind of just processing what's going on internally in my head, in my heart, in my soul. And I didn't have access to like therapy or anything when I was young, and wouldn't have done it and couldn't afford it anyway. So I think writing songs was like a way for me to process what was going on inside me, get emotions out, look at them on the page, and try to make sense of it all.
Okay.
That was my therapy.
Yeah. Do you have an album planned in near future, or what does that look like?
I don't even know. I don't even know if I'm gonna do albums anymore, because making full-length records just seems like there's almost no point anymore with the way. I mean, I love making records, but I think it almost makes more sense to put songs out as they come, even if I put one out at a time or three out at a time.
Yeah.
I've made 13, 14 albums already, so if I do, I do. If not, I'll just do singles and put them out as they come.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I have some songs I've been working on.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting. So your career that you just referenced with all those albums, you've kind of seen the music industry completely ebb and flow. I guess, do you regret the changes? Do you embrace the changes? How do you face that?
I guess I just embrace it. There's nothing we can do about it. But it was interesting to see, like, I kind of came on the scene when it was still the old model in many ways. Like, there was still record stores, the music business operated in sort of the old school way. And then I saw all that change like right when I got there. It started to move in a totally different direction, and it's been interesting to see that happen.
Yeah.
But it may be for the better for me, because I think back in the day you kind of had to get signed to a major label, and then you kind of had one shot, and if your record didn't pop, you were dropped and gone, and sometimes they'd lock you into these contracts, or they almost own you forever. And somehow I got lucky navigating my way through it, and I still own all my own music.
Oh, good.
I've had great relationships in the music business, even the people that I don't work with anymore. Like I was managed by Network for a while, and CAA, and there were great people there, and I have a great agent now. So I'm kind of just thankful for all of it,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Again, in the movie, you referenced your journey to sobriety. I guess how's that? Is that continued? And
yeah, I'm happy to say that I am sober now. I've been sober again for a while. It's been a journey. It's been ups and downs. I've for a long time, probably even when I spent, I guess it was over a decade in Nashville, where I was working really hard at being sober, but I was still really obsessed with this idea that I could learn how to enjoy and control my drinking somehow. So I held on to that idea for a really long time, and eventually I went back out and did some more experimentation. Got where I needed to be to figure out that just seems like I'm better off. But I feel like where I am today is that I was just sharing this with my friends on a walk we were taking before the podcast, that I feel I haven't always been at peace with that in the past, but I do feel like I'm getting to the point where I feel a lot of peace about it. So that feels good. Yeah.
A lot of the folks I've talked to in the last year, I mean, it's a struggle that a lot of people, I don't know if it's because of the music industry or whatever, if it's just a reflection of life, but I mean, it's wild how just deep that struggle can be for people.
Yeah.
And then, and then the great news is a lot of the stories on the back end are just so positive about relationships and
it's
things
a
like
funny
that.
way. It's a funny word to say because I actually felt like I struggled more with sobriety than I did with drinking. Like that's the thing that was so it was such a struggle to like just sort of surrender totally or learn how to be happy without this idea that I needed to do this old thing that I did to make myself feel better. And I guess it just, it takes what it takes, but in my experience, I just kind of kept at it, and over time, it seems like something's releasing a little bit. So
Yeah,
I feel thankful for that.
how did that change you as a husband and as a father? Do you think?
You'd have to ask my wife. She would is probably a better judge of my character than I am of my own. But she, just to use a cliche phrase, is I'm present there. I'm trying to be helpful where I can. I'm not thinking about my own, what I need as much, and it's just easier to show up. I mean, it's something's really simple, just like not waking up with a freaking hangover, every day is enough. That's worth the price of admission right there. Just that one thing, I remember like just waking up in the morning sometimes after I got sober again and realized like, man, I've never woken up one morning and thought, I wish I'd went out last night and got wasted. Like never, not once. So like, why would I be doing this?
Yeah.
But I was thinking about that a little bit more today. I was like, drinking was kind of like life. It was kind of like a good life metaphorically to me, in the sense that once I started it, like I didn't want it to end, which is like, if you're having a good time in life, that's the feeling you have. And sometimes the things that are more rewarding are like harder to do on the front end, but they pay off afterwards. I'm still trying to reconcile all that in my mind. Like, how come all the stuff that's good for me sucks in the beginning, but it's better after? And the stuff that I really look forward to is sometimes bad for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah. So in terms of, again, back to the Ted Lasso bit, I think curiosity is an underrated, I don't even know what it is, mindset or behavior and activity. I don't know what it is, but I think it's underrated with family and relationships, with jobs, things like that. I guess at this stage in your life, as a 44-year-old, what are you most curious about?
I guess I'm curious how the next, like you said, this second half of life is going to unfold. Because I really have no idea. I feel like I'm more open to that than anything. But I love that idea of curiosity. Thinking about how I've been married for 16 years, and I go to therapy I've been going back to therapy recently, which has been really cool. And it always helps me realize, like, staying curious about the person that you've lived with for 16 years is sort of an inspiring way to look at it, because there's always more there. There's always other layers. And I think curiosity is just a great way to walk through life, because curiosity seems to give way to wonder, and wonder is such a beautiful thing. I can't remember who prayed for wonder in their life, but it was some kind of priest or something like that, and I remember reading that, and that's always stuck with me. But it seems like you can be pretty happy if you're curious and full of wonder, right?
No, totally. I think it changes everything.
Yeah.
Because it kind of puts the burden, the pressure off of yourself, and it shows others that it's not all about you, and I think even that just gesture about asking questions and things like that is, I don't know, I've always find that. And then, like, I'm in sales and technology, and again, I've made all the mistakes that you would make. My team has made all the mistakes, but the worst thing you can do is just come in and pitch your product or your whatever and just tell them. The best thing you can do is just ask questions and listen, and that building that camaraderie has always helped. And I think, again, in relationships, it's really underrated, So anyway, so I appreciate that. Yeah. So the second half, I guess, from a music standpoint, are there areas that you want to explore or things that again, you're curious about?
Probably always. Right now I'm just happy to even be picking up the guitar. I'm curious about my daughter really more than I am myself. It's funny because I'm watching her sing.
That's awesome.
And I think she's so much more talented than I am, which makes me happy.
Yeah.
But I don't feel any pressure at all I just like want to let her be a kid and have it bring her joy and bring other people joy. But it's cool to kind of sit back and watch her experience this for the first time and be curious about what might happen for her and see how I can take on kind of a supportive role where it's like I'm more of an observer, encourager. I try to stay out of the way.
Right.
But like singing with her and watching her play that fills me with joy and wonder. We did a little Christmas concert online and we just had so much fun. She sang like half the songs and I just sat back and I love hearing her sing. The stuff she can do is incredible. So it's almost more like I get more excited thinking about her and watching what she's going to do. And, if I happen to write a song or two along the way,
that's awesome.
That's cool. I'm excited about this new song I wrote that I can't play yet, but my wife's been kind of raving about it and she thinks it's one of the best things I've ever done. So I don't know. Hopefully she's right, but it's just cool to create,
I mean, you've written some really good songs, man.
Thanks.
Like that is, I Remember, that's about your grandfather.
Yeah.
Right? I love that one. The one that's like the longest title ever. The
guy that says goodbye to you.
The guy that says goodbye to you is out of his mind. That's incredible, by the way.
Thank you.
And you're probably sick of playing it and talking about it, but
no.
But you've written some really good songs. So the fact that your wife is excited about this one, that says a lot.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. There's an album I made a couple years ago called Stories for a Rainy Day, and I still play like 3 or 4 of those songs off that album, which is rare. So sometimes I tell myself I can't write anymore, and then I have to remember, no, dude, you're still playing the songs that you wrote like 3 years ago all the time, and I think there's some of my better ones. So at least they work live well. So.
Yeah, awesome. So last question, we're here at this festival. I guess if you had to put a lineup together, Songwriter Festival or any kind of festival, you had 4 or 5 acts to book. What would that lineup look like?
Do they have to be living?
No, honey, anybody through history.
I started doing this Jeff Buckley cover, and I can't tell you which one because I'm afraid somebody's going to do it before I do because I don't think it's been done before, but I've been working on that. I'd love to see Jeff Buckley.
Jeez, that'd be amazing.
Gosh, man. I mean, all these people passed away that I just loved. I mean, I got to open for the Cranberries once, and seeing Dolores sing every night, she'd come over to the side of the stage and wink at me, and it's like just having that experience was so cool. Being around people, she passed away. George Michael, Tina Turner, Leonard Cohen, David Bowie.
Sure.
Just the list just goes on and on and on. We've lost all these incredible people, but it's funny because we kind of make fun of my wife and I make fun of my mom and Mike, my stepdad, because when you go to their house in Springfield, Ohio, or even in Florida where I just visited them last week, it's like they always have the classic rock station on. It's like always I'm like, how many times have you heard this song? You've heard this song 50,000 times. I'm like, here comes the Eagles' greatest hits again. Or any, just like Bad Company. It's like and that's all they listen to. So I'm just like giving them a hard time about it. But some of the stuff comes on and you're like, man, they don't really make music like this anymore. There was like a Led Zeppelin live concert, and just to hear the band playing together, it's magic, and it makes you feel so many feelings, and not a lot of music is doing that anymore. So I tend to get a little stuck in history because of that, just because I think that music gives me a feeling that even though a lot of modern stuff is good, it doesn't hit me in the same way.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm kind of old school soul, I think, in that way. But
I had the pleasure of going to Muscle Shoals last spring to sit in on a recording studio at one of the studios there, and they brought in the soundboard. Obviously years ago it wasn't like that. I watched them bring it in, but they had the soundboard there that it's like Bob Marley's son's board from way back when, and they were I don't know all the technical aspects of it, but they said that you can't replicate this sound because of it's not digital, it's whatever analog, and how it's plumbed and tubed and wired and everything, and I would they all look like dials to me, but the fact that it's got that sound can't be replicated, it's no wonder that so many people still gravitate to that, right?
For sure. Seems like a very magical place.
No, at Muscle Shoals is ridiculous.
You know,
the talent that's there, and it's like it's in the middle of nowhere.
You know what's really weird is that I saw that George Michael went down to record Careless Whisper at Muscle Shoals of all places, which seems really weird. And they did it, and it didn't work out.
Oh,
It
no
like
way.
didn't happen, and so
Yeah.
he went back and re-recorded it, and that became the hit. But that made me think of that because I really like George Michael for some reason. I just I don't
Yeah.
know.
All right.
He's one of those guys passed
Yeah.
away that
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, cool. White. So you have a guitar on your lap.
Yeah.
Would you
Got-
mind playing us some music?
Sure. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for your time, Griffin.
I'm Griffin House. This is a song inspired by my grandfather, George Griffin, who was born in 1920. He was a World War II veteran. He fought in the Battle of the Bulge, and loved the guy very much and miss him every day. And he used to tell me when I was a kid that he single-handedly ended World War II and said he shot Hitler's little mustache off and had it in his back pocket. So as a kid, I thought my grandfather had Hitler's little mustache in his wallet, and I always like to include that little tidbit of information before I play this song. So we did a little music video for this too before he passed away, and you can find it on YouTube. The song's called I Remember. My grandpa fought in World War II. My uncle fought in Nam. My father was too young. He went to school and met my mom. And her dad always told us stories around dinner time. And there's one he told when I was young that sticks out in my mind. He said 10 years after Daddy taught me about the birds and bees, I was stranded in Pearl Harbor fighting off the Japanese. When the kamikaze pilots came and dove in without warning, I was on the Arizona on a warm December morning. I remember when I was a younger man. We were soldiers fighting in a foreign land. Now I'm older, and it's happening again. But it was hard to have forgiveness for the things they did that day. And our president decided we should make their people pay. So we dropped on Nagasaki and we cut them down to size. And the one we dropped on Hiroshima left them vaporized. And I heard some Christians saying, what would Jesus do? What if you were on the wrong side? Would he point the gun at you? Then they read through every word of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John, so they could see if killing was the side that Christ was on. I remember when I was a younger man. We were soldiers fighting in a foreign land. Now I'm older, and it's happening again. And they separate the church and state and keep God out of school, so our governments can educate based upon their rules. But people start to wonder if our politics make sense when religion is our best excuse for national defense, and when our citizens start saying that our wars are not okay. And Washington keeps telling them God loves the USA. And they teach us history so we can learn from our mistakes. And this generation wants to know how many years it takes to change the way we treat our neighbors all across the land. 'Cause if we don't change our hearts, we repeat the past again. I remember when I was a younger man. We were soldiers fighting in a foreign land. Now I'm older, and it's happening again.
When my grandpa finished talking, we went walking, he and I. I was thinking of the future and how scared I was to die. Now my best friend's overseas, in the desert where it's dry, fighting for our country, and I need a reason why. I remember when he was a younger man. Now he's a soldier fighting in a foreign land. Now we're older, God bring him home again. Thank you.
The song is for Sarah Beth. It's a very long and wordy title called The Guy That Says Goodbye to You Is Out of His Mind.
Well, you don't need to change a thing about you, babe. I'm telling you, from where I sit, you're one of a kind. Relationships, I don't know why, they never work out and they make you cry. But the guy that says goodbye to you is out of his mind. Well, I've been down and I need your help. I've been feeling sorry for myself. Don't hesitate to boost my confidence. I've been lost and I need direction. I could use a little love protection. What do you say, honey? Come to my defense. I'd stand up for you if it's what you need, and I can take a punch, I don't mind to bleed, as long as afterwards you feel bad for me. And you give me all of your attention. I got deep desire and it needs quenching. I think that's pretty plain for you to see. Well, enough about me and more about you, 'cause that'd be the gentlemanly thing to do. I hope you like your men sweet and polite. I thought I was done with telling you, but I'm not nearly halfway through. I got a few more things I'd like to say to you tonight, so get ready. You don't need to change a thing about you, babe. I'm telling you, from where I sit, you're one of a kind. Relationships, I don't know why, they never work out and they make you cry. But the guy that says goodbye to you is out of his mind, out of his mind. You always did kinda drive me crazy, and it pissed me off 'cause I let it faze me. But I never wanted my time with you to end. Now I'm back in town for a day or two, and mostly I came back just to see you. I'm leaving now, but I don't wanna go. You don't need to change a thing about you, babe. I'm telling you, from where I sit, you're one of a kind. Relationships, I don't know why, they never work out and they make you cry. But the guy that says goodbye to you is out of his mind. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thank you.